The other day, I stumbled upon a tweet that caught my attention, and I thought I should bring it to you guys' attention too. It suggested that the US pharmaceutical industry is gearing up to lobby Congress for sanctions against China, and the reason was because China has had a revolutionary breakthrough in diabetes treatment. This piqued my curiosity because for so long we've only been able to manage diabetes, and in certain rare cases with type 1 diabetes you can cure it, but none has been able to cure type 2 diabetes. So this led me down a rabbit hole of research about this development. And if you're wondering how this cure works and why is it stirring such a reaction, keep on listening. Hi, this is BiteWise, and I'm here to cover the science behind food and nutrition. Today, we are exploring the first cured case of type 2 diabetes through stem cell transplants. When people talk about diabetes, 90% of the time they're referring to type 2 diabetes, and in my case, I'm also referring to type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes occurs when cells in our body become less responsive to insulin. What is insulin? Well, it's an essential hormone produced by beta cells in the pancreas that allows cells to take up food and remove that fluid, or in the form of glucose, from the bloodstream. This glucose will then be converted to energy that fuels all of our bodily functions. But in the case of type 2 diabetes, cells are resistant to insulin, so glucose starts to build up in the bloodstream. The pancreas will compensate by producing more insulin so cells can take up more insulin, but over time, beta cells are overworked and eventually produce a minimal amount of insulin. Without adequate insulin, the blood glucose levels remains high, and if it's untreated, that can damage the kidneys, eyes, nerves, feet, heart, and many more organs. More than 30% of people with type 2 diabetes require insulin injection. If you live in Canada, an insulin vial costs $12, but if you're in the United States, that might cost you $98.70. This led the US to have the highest price tag for these life-saving vials. This data was in 2018, but I'm sure the costs have significantly skyrocketed given the state of the world economy, which makes diabetes one of the most expensive medical conditions, especially if you live in the States. This is unfortunate as many people with lower socioeconomic status have a higher risk of diabetes, but unfortunately less access to affordable healthcare. Other treatments for diabetes besides insulin injections are pills, semaglutide injections like a lot of people have talked about, such as Ozempic and Wegovy, and or lifestyle interventions through diet, physical activity, maintaining a healthy body weight, and managing stress. All of these treatments only help people manage their diabetes, not completely cure it. This led Chinese researchers to entertain the idea of a one-time intervention that has been regarded as a groundbreaking cure for type 2 diabetes. The cure was a stem cell transplant. They sent their findings to Cell Discovery this April 2024, so it's quite recent. The lucky patient was a 59-year-old male who has had type 2 diabetes for 25 years. The doctors first harvested his blood cells to create stem cells that can give rise to various internal organs and tissues, including the pancreas, which is responsible for producing insulin. Under controlled lab conditions, these stem cells grew into beta cell tissues that were ready to be transplanted to the patient. These cells are indifferent from natural human beta cells in their structure and function. They also significantly lower the risk of the patient's body triggering an immune response and rejecting the cells, which is always a possibility with any transplantation. There were three main outcomes that the doctors tracked to prove that the transplant was successful. The first one was blood sugar control. Within 2 weeks, the patient's blood sugar levels become more stable, allowing him to reduce his insulin use. The second outcome was ceasing insulin use, and by week 11, the patient stopped needing insulin injections, and by week 48, he also stopped taking oral medications. The third outcome looked at key blood markers that indicate whether or not the transplanted cells were working well, and they were indeed. The surgery was not free of any side effects, but these complications were not detrimental. The patient reported temporary bloating, loss of appetite for a few weeks post-operation, and a 5% weight loss. These small side effects did not override the remarkable results that the transplant provided for the patient and marked the case as the first ever documented cure for type 2 diabetes. This sounds like straight out of science fiction, and I am so glad that we are living in the world where science fiction can become a reality, especially for people with type 2 diabetes. 10% of the global population with type 2 diabetes might be able to access the stem cell treatment to cure the chronic condition. But here's the catch. This breakthrough poses a significant threat to the US pharmaceutical giants, including Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi. The production cost of an insulin vial is less than $1, but these companies are charging almost $100, as I've mentioned before. This is ridiculous, and unfortunately, these giants make billions from diabetes-related products, including insulin injection. For example, in 2023, Eli Lilly reported a total revenue of $34,124 billion, with a significant portion coming from diabetes treatments. The introduction of an affordable, one-time effective cure from China could disrupt this lucrative market. In response, there are talks of imposing sanctions on China to prevent this breakthrough from entering the US market. The argument is that by blocking these advancements, US companies can maintain their profits and market control. However, this raises big ethical questions. Should financial interests outweigh the potential health benefits for millions of people? The situation is further complicated by the fact that diabetes is a growing issue in China as well. With 140 million diabetics, China has a significant domestic market for these treatments. This demand could drive further advancements and reduce costs over time, making the technology more accessible globally. So, what's next? If US sanctions are imposed, it could slow down the adoption of this revolutionary treatment in the States. However, the sheer number of diabetics in China and the potential for global expansion could eventually break through these barriers. Whether or not it becomes widely available in the US and other countries will depend on a complex interplay of politics, economics, and ethics. But don't jump the gun just yet. Being cured of diabetes doesn't mean you're immune to it. As I mentioned in the beginning, diet is one of the management strategies for diabetes. But even without diabetes, reassessing your diet and tweaking it can help lower the risk of developing this chronic condition. It's crucial to understand that you don't need to eliminate entire food groups because most foods can be included in your meal plan. You should also avoid fad diets that promise quick fixes, as these diets are often unsupported by science and unsustainable as well. Big results only occur when you make gradual behavior changes. In conclusion, China's stem cell therapy for diabetes represents a monumental leap forward. It challenges the current market dynamics and offers hope to millions of people suffering from this chronic condition. Please talk to a healthcare professional if you have any questions about your health instead of blindly listening to someone online. And that's all for today's episode on BiteWise. I'll see you in the next episode where we'll uncover more food and nutrition discoveries. Until then, stay curious, keep questioning, and remember that every step towards a cure could be a giant leap for millions of lives. Goodbye!